China is a rising superpower. Many videos from China make life there appear much better than in USA. But this could be a propaganda or media theatrics, and the reality may be different. However, in the recent times, we have seen several instances where China has surpassed the USA in AI, nuclear power, and manufacturing. In today's video, we will compare the US and China to determine which country is better based on different parameters. Let's start with GDP, which measures how rich an economy is. According to IMF, the nominal GDP of the USA in 2025 is projected to be $30.3 trillion, while China is $19.5 trillion. However, if we compare GDP on purchasing power parity (PPP) basis, which is a better indicator of real wealth and living standards, the USA GDP (PPP) is estimated at $29.17 trillion, whereas China is $37.07 trillion. This means that in terms of purchasing power and real economic size, China has larger economy than the USA. Now, if we compare GDP per capita or nominal, which indicates the wealth of average person, the USA stands at $89,680, while China's GDP per capita is $12,969. However, this number might be misleading as GDP per capita on PPP basis better represents the real wealth and living standard of people in the country. In this case, the USA GDP per capita (PPP) is $89,685, while China is $26,310. This means Americans have more purchasing power and wealth, but China is catching up. In 2024, the USA GDP grew by 2.15%, while China's GDP grew by 4.6%. According to IMF, China could become the world's largest economy by nominal GDP as early as 2040. Now let's look at exports. As of 2023, China exported goods worth $3.5 trillion, while the USA exported $3.05 trillion. China is the king of manufacturing goods, while the USA dominates service exports. However, the USA depends heavily on China for many daily use goods and critical equipment used in communication, defense, and computer hardware. In 2023, China had trade surplus of $823 billion, meaning it exported significantly more than it imported. Massive feat. Meanwhile, the USA had a trade deficit of $773.4 billion, meaning it imported more than it exported. China's top export included broadcasting equipment, integrated circuits, and computers, while the USA's top exports were refined petroleum, crude petroleum, and petroleum gas. China's biggest export partners are the USA, Hong Kong, and Japan, while the USA's largest export partners are Canada, Mexico, and China. The largest company by market capitalization in USA are Apple, Nvidia, and Microsoft, all private companies. In contrast, China's largest company are the State Grid Corporation of China, China's National Petroleum Corporation, and Sinopec Group, all of which are government owned. The unemployment rate in USA was 4.1% in December 2024, while in China it was 5.1%. Finally, the US dollar dominates the global trade, making up to 58% of global currency reserves, while the Chinese yuan accounts for just 3%, highlighting the dollar's dominance in international transactions. Now let's move on to the living standard and life in both countries. The median age in USA is 38.8, while in China it is 39.8, meaning both countries have aging population. If we compare the total fertility rate (TFR), which measures the average number of children per woman, it stands at 1.66 for the USA and 1.18 for China as of 2022. This means China will age faster and both countries have fertility rates below the replacement level of 2.1, which is needed to maintain or grow the population. As a result, both countries will experience population decline. However, the USA benefits from continuous immigration, which helps maintain its workforce. Meanwhile, China is heavily investing in automation to counteract its shrinking population. In 2022, China installed 290,000 individual robots compared to 263,000 installed by the rest of the world combined, highlighting its aggressive factory automation. In contrast, the USA installed only 40,000 robots. China's population is 1.41 billion, while the USA is 334.9 million. The adult literacy rate in USA is 79%, whereas in China it is 97%, showing a significant difference in literacy levels. Life expectancy in China is 78.59 years, while in USA it is 77.43 years. On an average, people in China are considered fitter than those in USA. Additionally, healthcare in China is far more affordable than in USA, which has the highest healthcare cost in the world. Now let's move to infrastructure. China has 184,000 kilometers of expressways or control access highways, while the USA had just 78,680 kilometers, despite both countries having approximately the same land area. In terms of high-speed railways, China has total length of 48,000 kilometers, whereas the USA has 0 kilometers. The Shanghai maglev train in China reaches a speed of 431 km per hour, while the fastest train in USA, the Aquila, reaches 250 km per hour, but only for 80 km stretch. As of December 2024, China has 11,000 km of urban rail transit systems, with 48 cities having such networks. The largest urban rail network is in Beijing, with 815 km of metro rails. In contrast, the USA has 1,389 km of metro system, with the New York subway being the largest at 399 km. The USA is predominantly a car-driven country. However, the USA has world's largest rail network, with total length of 225,308 km, while China has 159,000 km. In terms of air travel, the USA serves 862.8 million air passengers per year, whereas China serves 700 million passengers. China has the largest bus fleet in the world. Regarding electricity consumption, China consumed 8,392 terawatts per hour of electricity in 2023, while the USA consumed just 4,000 terawatt per hour. Electricity consumption is often a strong indicator of the size and industrial activity of economy. Finally, 83% of US's population is urbanized, while in China, the urbanization rate is 65%. Now let's compare the hard power, the military. There is no real comparison as the USA has the largest military in the world. The USA's military budget is $820 billion, while China is $232 billion. The USA has 750 global military bases, ensuring global security dominance, whereas China has only 8 bases. The USA has 11 aircraft carriers, while China has 3. The USA has total 13,043 aircraft, while China has 3,309. The USA has 1,790 fighter aircrafts, whereas China has 1,212. The USA has 5,843 helicopters, while China has 913. The USA has 70 submarines, whereas China has 61. However, China has 2 million active soldiers compared to the USA's 1.3 million. The foreign alliance and influence. The USA is part of NATO, AUKUS and Quad, giving it strong military and diplomatic alliances. China is a member of BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO). China is expanding its global influence by building infrastructure and providing aid worldwide, particularly through its Belt and Road Initiative (BRI). The USA provides international aid through USAID, which supports various countries globally. Currently, the USA remains the dominant global superpower, but China is rapidly closing the gap. In the future, we may witness an intensifying power struggle between the USA and China for global dominance.